Good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Cameron Bailey. I am the co-head and artistic director of the Toronto International Film Festival. Sometimes I make a joke about my mom being here or family being here. I actually do have family here this evening, so I want to welcome them. Thank you so much for coming. You are here to see the brand new film by Sir Kenneth Branagh, Belfast. And we are thrilled to be presenting it to you here in Roy Thomson Hall. We're thrilled to be back and in theaters together, sharing that excitement of watching a brand new movie, and I'm so glad you're here to be a part of that. We want to thank the organizations and the people who make everything we do at TIFF possible, our lead sponsor, Bell, our major sponsors, RBC, L'Oréal Paris, and Visa, and our public supporters, the Government of Ontario, Telefilm Canada, and the City of Toronto for all of their continued support. Thanks also to our members and our donors, maybe some of you in the audience tonight who help us transform the way people see the world through film. That's what we're here to do. If you're interested in learning more about that, if you want to become a member or choose to donate to TIFF, you can go online to tiff.net/support and do that. And a reminder that we're all about the audience reaction to films here at the Toronto Film Festival, and our biggest prize is the People's Choice Award. That's the award that you vote for, and you can do that by going online to tiff.net/vote. Don't forget to do that. Big thanks to Focus Features and Universal Pictures Canada for providing us with this film, and thanks also to the British Council for their support of this film and all of the films from Britain at the festival. And tonight I'd like to make a special acknowledgement to the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, who's joining us in the audience tonight. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor. And thank you for joining us here at TIFF for another year of celebrating the art of film. I have been a big fan of Kenneth Branagh's films for many years, and one of the things that I most appreciate is that he's able to tackle the big, robust, timeless myths that we get from stories like Henry V, or Frankenstein, or Thor. But perhaps the most indelible myth that I think any of us can have comes from our own story. And that's something that you will see tonight. This is a story that has some of the large arc of a mythic story, but it's also a very intimate, personal story set during the time when Kenneth Branagh himself was growing up in Northern Ireland, in Belfast. This is not directly his story, but it's certainly inspired by what he and his family experienced at the time. And it also has a beautiful kind of reminiscence of what going to the movies used to be like back in the day as well. It's a film that's shot in this lustrous black and white. It has those beautiful performances. It has some legends in it as well, including Dame Judi Dench and Ciarán Hinds. It has the amazing actors Jamie Dornan and Caitríona Balfe. And a real discovery in Jude Hill as well, who's just remarkable in the film. And then also someone that you might not know, but who's just wonderful as well, is Jerry Horan in the film as well. And Kenneth Branagh, having written the script and directing it, brings all of this together to tell a story that takes us back to a time. Some of you may know this time and place. For some of you, it will be new, but I think all of you will be inspired by the story he tells. He's come to introduce the film to you this evening. Please join me in welcoming the director of Belfast, Sir Kenneth Branagh.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what it feels like to you, but to see a large group of people gathered to watch a motion picture is pretty bloomin' exciting. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. After all that we have all been through, I cannot tell you how grateful I am to be in your company. I first came to this great city over 30 years ago to play on the stages of your theatres. Our Canadian audiences were fantastic. Boy, do you know your Shakespeare. A year later, I had my first experience of this film festival. Canadian audiences were fantastic. Boy, do you know your movies. And it's a town which, in my experience, is throbbing with creativity, vitality, and generosity. And I love it, and I'm honored to be back. And as my mother would insist I say, thank you very much for having us. Thank you also. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. I want to thank Focus Features for making our presence here possible. They've been absolutely the greatest of partners in making the journey of this film together and making it better. They've just been brilliant to bring it to you here, and I thank them very much indeed. We're also very fortunate in creating the film to work with some of Ireland's finest film artists, and a couple of them are indeed with me here today, and I'm delighted to say, and it is a real pleasure to introduce first a wonderful actor and a really terrific man who you will know as the amazing Mr. Jamie Dornan. And Jamie's contribution to the film, as you will see, is immense, and I thank him for it. And playing the role of Mackie in the film, another wonderful actor who stood with me on those Toronto stages all those years ago, all those decades ago, and who's been a cherished colleague across many, many projects. He is the brilliant Mr. Gerard Horan. Thank you. And thank you. I want to salute our producers who are here in the auditorium tonight. They are Tamar Thomas, Laura Berwick, and Becca Kovacic. Yes, these, thank you. They should stand up, ladies, if you're there, because this film would not have been made without them. They have my profound thanks, and I really appreciate your appreciation of them. Few shout-outs, if you don't mind. One to my agent, Robert Newman, for always believing. Thank you, Robert. And also, forgive me, but I know you'll want to hear this, because aside from all of you fantastic people, we have several great filmmakers in the audience tonight, which we're pretty overexcited about. So we have the great Philip Noyce in the house tonight. We also have, thank you, Philip, we have two great Canadian filmmakers. The amazing Atom Egoyan is here tonight, and the brilliant Patricia Rosima as well. Thank you. And finally, two great Canadian artists who are friends and fellow artists who've taken the trouble to be here tonight. They are the great director, Donna Fior, and the great actor, Colm Fior. Thank you very much. Thank you. And so I salute you all. So to the film. I grew up in a place where it seemed to rain a lot, but there was plenty of sunshine in the hearts of the people. We laughed a lot about daft things. And please feel free to laugh tonight if you are so moved. And we held each other when we cried about serious things. And generally, as a community, we were there for each other, for everyone. And then, as they say, things changed. So what you're about to see is the story of something that happened to me when I was 9 years old and which changed my life forever. It also affected many, many others in profound ways that reverberate to this day. I've been waiting and wanting to tell this story for 50 years, and over that time I have repeatedly heard the beautiful, cacophonous noise of this city in my head. At the beginning of the lockdown, for reasons which will probably become clear when you see the film, I knew that finally attention must be paid. So, after 50 years, I listened and I wrote down what I heard. These events take place in a great northern city on the island of Ireland a long time ago in a place called Belfast. Thank you.
Wow. Please join me in welcoming back to the stage director and writer Kenneth Branagh and the star of Belfast, Jamie Dornan.
Thank you.
Congratulations on making such a beautiful film. And, you know, I've never been to Belfast, but I feel like I miss it. It feels like it's a part of my past and my memory. You've somehow made it a story that, although I know it's personal and it's about your time and your era as a boy, you've somehow made it speak to, I think, everyone. And I wanted to maybe get a sense to begin by asking, what was your entry point into your own childhood? Is there a certain memory, a certain moment, a Madeleine, something that brings you back?
It was partly, I started actually, I showed this film the other day to Chris Nolan, and he said, sorry, I don't know if you've heard of it.
As you do.
Sorry, big heavy name drop there, but I did.
Very close friend of mine.
I'm sure he's going to employ you on the next one. But he said, I think you've been writing this since 1972. But in fact, I guess it was the lockdown. I started writing this on March the 23rd of last year. I remember it. This had been brewing for a long time, and I didn't know how to do it. But the lockdown started to I'm sure for everybody here, teach you whether you liked it or not about things that were precious, that were simple, that had been taken away, and that. Sorry. So it's going to be definitely going to be one of those nights where you just where you plot a place in your life when the very simple thing is you were very happy, and then in a minute it was very difficult to deal with everything that came up. People have had this in their lives a million times, and that's what happened to me back then. So the beginning of lockdown sort of ignited that feeling, and I just wanted to sort of chart the way in which you could, in as far as I understood it, in that situation, navigate your way through all of that uncertainty, and how you could try and do it as a 9-year-old kid who had loving family and movies and a great big life on the street. And so the lockdown sent me back there, and I wrote the first day's work, and I came back and I put the telly on, and Boris Johnson said, "You're all locked down." And so it began, and then it was like done in a sort of flurry after that.
Fantastic work. Jamie, your character as the father is critically important in the film. One of the things I found most powerful is his absence, the fact that he has to go away, and his son isn't always sure when he's going to be there, and those moments become especially precious. I wanted to ask maybe both of you about that character and kind of, where that comes from, the idea of a father who, for work, for economic reasons, for all the reasons that Northern Ireland has to deal with, he's just not there a lot of the time. And when he is there, it's kind of this concentrated time, concentrated emotion. And then for you, Jamie, what it's like to play that, where there's so much invested in when the father is present.
I think the reality of that is Belfast has always been a very difficult place to live. Like from the dawn of time, Belfast is just riddled with complications, and I think there's like a recognition of someone who is faced with difficulties, trying to do the best thing for his family, and sometimes that means sacrifices. And it's the same for me now, even not living there anymore. I understand I'm a father of 3 girls, and I have to say goodbye to them. I haven't seen them in 11 days, which is the longest I haven't seen them in 2 years because of everything going on. And I think I have a real understanding of what that is to, go away often for the benefit of the family, to work, to provide, to every single step I do since becoming a father of my career is for them. That's all I really care about, and that's relatable once you become a father. It's that thing I really recognized in Pa, is that, this is someone who is in a difficult city, in a difficult time. Jesus, he didn't know how difficult the time was about to become, but he's already away doing what he thinks is best for the family, for the furtherment of the family, for the betterment of the family. And that means sometimes hardship, that means saying goodbye, that means absence. And I recognize that, I'm aware of that, I live that. So, it was something I was, keen to draw into, because it's something that resonated with me too.
It was poignant tonight, actually, seeing those two brochures go down for Sydney and for Vancouver. And I don't know whether people here are old enough. I'm pleased to say lots of young people here, but old enough to know about this assisted passage scheme. My father was a joiner, he was a master joiner. So literally for £10, through the good offices of your great country, there was an invitation, in the 60s to come here and be part of strengthening, that workforce for the infrastructure that was growing for various projects around this great nation. And so it was very touching to see that as part of the ways in which basically how can you survive with what little tools you have, and this very difficult decision between a big life in an extended family where you just, I guess that's where I came to it. What I felt was you knew where you were, and the lockdown, I think it provided a lot of introspection for a lot of us, didn't it? And quite a big questions about identity, about who you were. That time in Belfast was the last time I really felt I knew who I was, where I absolutely belonged. So for them, I swear to God, Canada it might as well, as she says, it might as well have been going to the moon. These were places that were really, just incredible to think of, and yet they were absolute beacons of possibility for families like that, in order to try and avoid what you're talking about, to not be separated all the time, to be together somewhere where you make that big potential sacrifice between a life where you know exactly where you are, and this thing that is also part of the DNA of trying to do the right thing as far as you see it for your kids.
A part of evoking this time for me watching the movie was this incredible soundtrack that you've put together. God knows what that must have cost to bring all those amazing pop songs from the time, all that Van Morrison and everything else, and then also movies, as you mentioned. And I wonder what those things meant for you, that mostly American pop culture, actually, at the time as a young boy in Belfast. What did that mean for you then, and what does it evoke for you now?
Well, escape and fun, and many more movies played. It was like a festival, actually. Many more. We went to a place called the Capitol up on the Antrim Road, or for big trips we went down to the city centre because there were bigger theatres. But they played many more movies per week, and kept things going for much longer. It was colour. Part of the reason for the colour choice for the movies here is that it was like a firework going off in my head. Not always in my head, when suddenly A Million Years BC was happening, and it was just that was an incredible sort of immersion in something quite different. And Raquel Welch hastened puberty for me by about 5 years. But the sort of explosion of color, and also, especially in the wake of all the disruption, movies became a way for him to see it. And, purposefully, it's Ma and Pa and Pop and Granny, Billy Clanton. Anybody know where that name comes from, by the by? Billy Clanton is one of the members of the family that were in the shootout at the OK Corral. You'll find the Clantons also in My Darling Clementine and Tombstone and various other pictures about that particular gunfight. And so that whole sort of sense of what good guys and bad guys did in movies, as it reflected itself on what I was seeing around in the street, had a big influence. And as we both know, Van Morrison is as he describes himself relative to his music, he's a corner boy, somebody who was one of those guys playing on the street, and who then, it's as if he wrote all of these. He did write a new one for this, and he wrote the score. He wrote that beautiful, haunting saxophone score, but it's as if he wrote the songs for the film, because he is 100% Belfast and a legend, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if someone had ever told me that I'd be doing a movie that was littered with Van Morrison tracks and he'd written something for it and made music to a picture that I was in, I just would not have believed you. So yeah, for anyone who's from the north of Ireland, Van Morrison is, whether you want it to be or not, he's born into your soul. Like, it's just, that's it. That's part of the tapestry of who you are if you're from home. And in a similar way, I think, to some people of Ken, some people don't realize that they're from Northern Ireland. Like, a lot of people don't realize you are, and a lot of people, the amount of people have told me they didn't know Van Morrison was from home.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Where we at home, I keep saying home, but like it is home, but like me in Belfast, we are so proud of the people who have come from there. It's a tiny wee place in a small island, and so the likes of Ken at home we cherish the fact that he's from home, and the same with Van. But I think when you go further afield, people don't realize that he's actually from there.
Yeah, well, he sounds like a soul singer.
Yeah.
He is a soul singer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to have some time for your questions as well. Maybe we'll have time for a couple of them. But before we do that, the last thing I want to ask you, Ken, is about shooting the film with your usual cinematographer and shooting in black and white, and that really evocative, rich texture that you get, the amazing angles. It reminded me of movies from that era as well, both American movies and some European movies. A little bit of Fellini, a little bit of some other filmmakers. What were you drawing on visually for Belfast?
It was shot by a man called Harris Sambaloucos, and we've been doing films together since the first one we did together, which we brought here to TIFF, which was a version of Sleuth back in 2007. Thank you very much. Thank you. One of the 7 people who saw that movie. Thank you. Actually, there was a whole crowd of people who saw it here. The greatest night we ever had for that film was in this city. Thank you very much. The world professed indifference after that, but you win some, you lose some, and we got the chance to make it, so we were privileged all the ways around, and it was to start that relationship. Harris is a great stills photographer. We latched on the great Cartier-Bresson as an example of somebody who is trying to produce this court moment, this happening, and we wanted to start from the idea of shooting from the physical point of view of the 9-year-old boy a lot, so lower, and also with the graphic quality in the framing of either the landscape of all these amazing faces or the graphic landscape of, as it turned out to be, barbed wire and the shipyard cranes and the sort of Buddy's Monument Valley, if you like, his way of looking at these big monolithic things, because they were much bigger than him. And we tried often to, place ourselves where he was. Jamie's very brilliant in the scene where he tells he thanks his wife for having brought the kids up, and it's a beautiful moment. I think he's beautiful because he does it so beautifully. But we very bravely put up with the fact that our camera is low down on the floor with the boy and the chocolate lips in foreground, and all of that happens in a great big wide shot with the Christmas tree and the 2 kids and everything, and so much depth of field. But it felt as though we were always aware of what they were talking about at the same time. And so those kinds of choices both kept us where the kid was, but also allowed us to see the scene play in quite a sort of full way. So we were always looking for those things that in some way would immerse you.
It's beautifully done. All right. Is there anyone here who's got a question right there?
I thought it was brilliant, Ken.
Thank you.
I'm sure William Shatner's going to be looking for a check.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly emotional for you to do. How did you get through some of those scenes, especially from being there? And I know exactly where the town is in the area, and it's so emotional. When you were crying, I was crying here.
I'll just repeat for those who may not have heard it. The gentleman was saying William Shatner should be expecting a check. And also, it must have been a very emotional experience to make it. And how did you get through some of those scenes?
Well, you can tell from my reaction tonight that I didn't get through them terribly well. I'm afraid, and sorry about that. So it was pretty. Yeah, it does catch you up. We've both been caught up by. Somebody said a sweet thing to me when they saw the film last week. They said, they said, you sort of hinted this, they'd been talking about it. He said, the funny thing, I was talking about it, he said, and I started getting choked. And it just seems as though in some way it seems to plug into situations and recollections other people have. So it was often very, very difficult but cathartic. The experience was heartbreaking and heartwarming. And the film ended up being a bit like that, but very, 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 very beautiful, and a very, 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 very great privilege, and just an amazing thing to be part of. This is also, as you'll have your experiences of this. We were coming back with the first film back after COVID. Everybody tested for 2 weeks. Everybody tested every day. The casts were in a bubble. It was entirely unusual. You had 3 zones of working experience. You had one-way systems. And we all wore masks, and as you're all, wisely and kindly doing tonight. And so the whole thing was charged with how valuable, how lucky we were to be able to do it. And we were talking about things that we were understanding were also valuable, small, individual little lives, but that's what our lives are, aren't they? They're just, these tiny decisions in one family, you have them all. They're titanic in your own experience. They're massive. They're life changes. And so I think it got everybody going like that, didn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Just give me a moment, please. I just want to see, I think there was someone back here who had a question. No? Do I have that wrong? Okay. Is it up here then?
Jamie, you and Caitríona both have such iconic roles in your separate areas of your career. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit how you guys came together, what your method was to go through your scenes, because it was so powerful.
I'll just repeat briefly. She was asking about how you came together with Caitríona, with the 2 characters you have. You've got very iconic roles from your past work.
What roles are they?
Naughty boy.
Oddly enough, Caitríona Balfe is, let me start by saying it's been very strange. Ken and I have been on this journey for a couple of weeks, and we haven't had Caitríona with her. She's just become a mother for the first time. So, having fathered 3 children myself, she'll soon realize that it's good to get away from them. But at the moment, she's on that blissful sort of phase. The first time I met Caitríona was here at TIFF about 2 or 3 years ago. I was here for a movie called A Private War, and she was here for the Ford versus Ferrari movie. And we were introduced in that way of like, hey, you're 2 people from the same place, speak. And actually, if you're from the island of Ireland, that's actually all you need. So then it was like, into who we knew. We shared a lot of friends. And I've always admired Caitríona, and she was just unbelievable to work with, like such a true, brilliant person. That's really all I care about above everything else. Like, are you going to have a good time with this person? Is this person going to treat you with respect? Are you going to take care of each other on set? And she did all of that in spades. And I actually have never seen Outlander. Anyway, it's too long. There's like 7 seasons or something. I'm not going to see it.
I'm telling her this.
No, listen, she's watched The Fall, though, which is great. I'm really pleased about it. But it's like, these things are a wee bit of a lottery in terms of when you're put together with someone. It has to be a very true, believable relationship. And it's often out of your hands, and it was out of our hands into Ken's hands. And thankfully, you chose people that, worked well together. And, if every movie could be with someone as easy as Caitríona Balfe, it would be a very easy career choice that I've made. And I think she is truly outstanding in this movie. And I hope she gets everything for it.
Absolutely. I'm being told we're out of time, unfortunately, so I'm going to ask you please to join me in thanking once again the director, Ken Branagh, the star, Jamie Dornan. Thank you for being here for Belfast.